Good day to you all and welcome back to Bugs and Biology. Today we are looking at a video by the channel Factsopedia. And if you've watched the video of a marine biologist reacting to content from this same channel, then you should know what to expect. And I don't think it's gonna be pretty.
Aussies might make fun of us for saying this, but Australia looks like a terrifying place to live.
Well, colour me surprised. Once again, it is an American narrator talking about how dangerous Australia is. Can you feel the irony? Okay, now, admittedly, I have been a little bit hard on Americans in my reaction videos. And I assure you, I'm more than willing to acknowledge that Australians are probably every bit as responsible for this country's bad reputation. But I'll save that rant for another time, so that this video doesn't go on for 2 hours.
But some of the animals are petrifying, be it colossal spiders.
When is this stereotype ever going to die? If you think Australian spiders are big, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening if you ever go to South America, or Africa, or many parts of Asia, or some of the Pacific Islands.
These are the most dangerous animals in Australia.
Horse, cattle, dog. There you go, Australia's 3 most dangerous animals by far, and none of them are native.
Number 15. Python.
Now, Australia has no shortage of highly venomous elapid snakes. So with that in mind, why would you include a python on this list?
The country is often referred to as Australia, land of the pythons.
I have heard Australia being referred to as many things. But land of the pythons? Well, I'm 90% sure he 100% made that up on the spot.
Now, I don't know about you, but this isn't a mantra I would be proud to advertise.
Oh, speak for yourself, champ. Pythons are awesome.
Australia is also home to 14 species of python.
So just to clarify, I am by no means close to an expert on pythons. But I'm nevertheless pretty confident that some of the pythons being shown here are Burmese pythons, which, as you'd be able to guess from the name, are not Australian.
Which is close to half of the species believed to inhabit the planet.
There are 42 currently described python species, and I don't think 14 is especially close to being half of 42. So, get back to school, please.
In late 2019, there was a case in Queensland, Australia, where a boy was stalked by a huge python. His father scared the snake away, only for it to return again.
Why do videos like this always present tall tales as if they are viable sources of knowledge? Pythons are opportunistic ambush predators. They are not going to concentrate on stalking one particular prey item for any substantial length of time.
He had to decapitate the snake to save his son's life.
That is an anaconda. Not Australian, and not a python.
Like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or Slenderman will come from under your bed while you're sleeping.
What the fuckity fuck did I just watch? Is that the key to getting more subscribers, threatening your viewers? Let me give it a shot. Alright guys, listen up. I know where you live. I know where your kids go to school. One day, I'm going to come upon them in a dark alley, and I'm going to torture them by lecturing them on the importance of foraminiferan fossils in biostratigraphy. And you wouldn't want that happening, would you? So I think that you'd better hit subscribe. Did I do that right?
Now it's time for the odd topic. And I'm not even going to try and pronounce this right, Bathiotia brevicaudata.
Maybe don't try to educate people on an animal if you can't pronounce said animal's name. Like, what goes on in these people's heads when they're making a video? Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about this topic. Sounds great, let's do a video.
If those weren't enough to give you heart palpitations, the serrated spine of the tail is highly venomous.
Those are horseshoe crabs, you daft dimbo. They're arthropods, chelicerates, closely related to spiders and scorpions. And on top of that, this image has been edited. So many things wrong in one picture, it's actually kind of impressive.
Due to both this and their size, they are truly dangerous.
I feel like the incident with Steve Irwin has caused many people to overestimate exactly how dangerous stingrays are. For the most part, stingrays are pretty passive animals that may at most be a bit curious at times. And while I do understand that the death of Steve Irwin has caused many people to show some serious hatred towards stingrays, you might want to ask yourself whether Irwin would have wanted people to hate an animal because of him.
And have been known to inflict lethal injuries on humans who have made the mistake of getting in their way.
And continuing on with what I said before, stingrays only use their stingers as a defense mechanism. They are not just going to be slashing it left, right, and center at anything that gets in their way.
Number 14. Box jellyfish.
I'm not at all going to question the fact that box jellyfish are potentially very dangerous. However, it is definitely worth pointing out that they only occur in the northern parts of Australia and are only present at certain times of the year. So for the majority of Australians, these jellyfish are not an issue.
The box jellyfish is responsible for over 5,500 deaths since 1954.
From what I've read, the Australian box jellyfish, Chironex fleckeri, has been responsible for about 79 deaths since 1883. So hate to break it to you, but you might be off by quite a fair margin there.
Box jellyfish are an extremely dangerous fish.
Did this fool of a took just call a jellyfish a fish? Jellyfish are cnidarians. Fish are bilaterians. The evolutionary split between the cnidarians and the bilaterians is one of the deepest in the animal kingdom. In simpler terms, you would be hard-pressed to mix up two animals more distantly related to one another. And I remember learning that jellyfish aren't fish in prep, which makes me really question the level of this guy's education.
They are pale blue and transparent in color and get their box name from their cube-like shape.
Thanks for clarifying, I never would have figured that one out.
Number 13. European honeybees.
I thought this video was about scary Australian animals. Europe. Does that ring a bell? I'm just saying, if you're trying to single out Australia as a place with especially terrifying wildlife, then maybe don't opt for featuring something that originated on another continent.
Although they only live between 120 and 150 days, they have been part of the Australian landscape for about 190 years.
Yeah, that's because of a little-known phenomenon called reproduction. You know, that thing that you learn about in primary school biology?
The feral European honeybee competes with native fauna for floral resources, completely disrupting the natural pollination process.
I never thought I'd say this, but huge props to this video for that. One of the main reasons I dislike the whole save the bees thing is because all people ever seem to focus on is Apis mellifera, which is the European honeybee, which causes a lot of attention to be drawn away from the innumerable insect species that are actually threatened with extinction, and instead causes everyone to focus all their concern on one species which is not only non-threatened, but in some cases invasive. Oh, and as a side note, Australia's native bees are stingless. So there goes that whole thing about everything in Australia being venomous and wanting to kill you.
These bees may displace endemic wildlife from tree hallows.
Tree hallows? Are they after the Elder Wand or something?
Number 12. Saltwater Crocodile, aka Salties. In terms of total length, the largest living reptiles are the reticulated pythons and saltwater crocs.
Crocodilus porosus, the saltwater crocodile, is the largest living reptile in terms of mass. Meanwhile, the reticulated python is the longest.
They are predominantly found around saltwater, living in coastal habitats. But if you think you're safe taking a quick dip in your local freshwater river, think again. These nasty reptiles are just as comfortable in these environments too. It seems nowhere is safe.
Yes, nowhere is safe. Except, of course, the areas outside of the crocodile's distribution. In other words, most of the country.
Number 11. Blue-ringed octopus. If you see an octopus that looks like this character, get out of the water immediately.
No, you don't even need to get out of the water. Just don't touch the thing. How hard is that? And quite frankly, if you are dumb enough to touch a blue-ringed octopus, then you deserve to join the anti-vaxxers in the lineup for a Darwin Award.
Number 10. Stonefish.
I couldn't find anything overly misinformative in this section, so let's just skip on to the next one.
Number 9. Redback Spider. The redback spider is one to be avoided. Its bite is extremely toxic.
Of course, I'm not saying that medically significant spiders don't deserve respect, but the majority of bites by redbacks do not cause severe symptoms.
Their large front fangs dig in deeply.
Large fangs? Have you looked at a redback spider lately?
They mainly prey on insects and small animals.
Insects and animals. There we go, that's one of my pet hates right there. Insects and other arthropods are animals. And honestly, I was quite surprised when I first found out how many people aren't aware of that. I could understand not thinking that corals or sponges are animals, because at first glance they do not appear to have many animal traits. But insects always seem to be so obviously animals.
Their burrows are buried deep into the ground, up to 1 meter deep.
Burrowing redback spiders. I really have heard it all now, haven't I? Even if we ignored the fact that nothing about a redback's morphology is remotely suited to a burrowing lifestyle, how could the makers of this video possibly have come up with that? Especially when most of the footage they are showing of redback spiders shows them sitting in webs, not in burrows. I have watched some seriously trashy videos about Australian animals, but this tomfoolery just takes the cake.
Number 8. Great white shark. No discussion about dangerous Australian animals would be complete without mentioning the great white shark.
And no trashy clickbait video would be complete without using footage of the wrong species. Again.
Its torpedo shape helps propel it through the water.
First things first, that is Carcharius taurus, a grey nurse shark. And secondly, the animal's shape is what makes it more streamlined. The shark is not propelled by its shape, but by its caudal fin.
The great white shark is the world's largest known living predatory fish.
It is the world's largest macro-predatory fish. The filter-feeding whale shark, Rhincodon typus, is still a predator as it preys on other animals. And being substantially bigger than a great white, it holds that title.
Number 7. Sydney funnel web spider.
Here we go, looking forward to debunking the exact same nonsense for the 50th time.
One of the most notoriously dangerous spiders, the Sydney funnel web has a reputation that puts the Black Widow to shame. This is definitely deserved though, as reports are in no way exaggerated.
Well, unless those reports involve funnel webs chasing people, which a whole lot of them do. I'm not going to go into much detail here because this video is already quite long as is. But if you're interested, I have made a 15-minute long video addressing some of the more common myths about funnel web spiders, including the one that they chase you.
Worse still, the bite can take as little as 15 minutes to cause irreversible damage or even death.
That 15 minutes case that these fear-mongering videos always go on about was an anomaly, and does not at all represent the norm for funnel web bites.
Out of all 35 species of funnel web spiders,
Wow, so at least they did acknowledge that there are other funnel web species aside from Atrax robustus. That, along with what they said about European honeybees being an invasive species, is probably the only redeeming quality of this video.
These spiders can be identified by their dark, shiny appearance and with finger-like web spinnerets at the end of their abdomen.
Oh, they can be identified by having spinnerets on their abdomen. Thank you, that allows me to narrow it down to every spider species on the planet.
The Sydney funnel web is aggressive, rearing back on its hind legs, lifting itself up and displaying its fangs when threatened.
Calling funnel webs aggressive and then immediately describing defensive behavior. These videos really have a thing for self-contradiction.
This little spider is definitely something to mark off the attraction list when visiting Australia.
Unless you're like me and have funnel web spiders sent to your house in the post. Oh, if only those poor postmen knew.
Number 6. Taipan Snake. This snake strikes so fast that it can kill a person within 30 minutes.
You do realise that striking speed does not determine the onset of fatality. That, my friend, is caused by the venom.
When it strikes, it releases presynaptic neurotoxins,
What's the betting the narrator doesn't know what either of those words mean?
muscle weakness.
That's Dendroaspis polyepis, the black mamba, from Africa. So, wrong species and wrong continent.
If you are bitten by this snake, you should seek medical attention immediately. I mean, shoot, if you're bitten by anything in Australia, it seems like you should get medical attention.
If you aren't sure what bit you, yes, and that applies everywhere in the world. The way these videos make it out, you'd think that Australia is the only place in the world where you need to be cautious around wildlife.
Number 5. Bull sharks.
That reminds me of a very similar sounding word that I would use to describe this video.
This pretty much sums up our next dangerous animal of Australia.
If you're going to try and present Australia as a uniquely dangerous place, then maybe feature an animal that isn't found worldwide.
It has sharp teeth, is always hungry, and is among one of the more common sharks in the ocean.
2 wrong species in a row. Why am I not surprised? The first was Galeocardo cuvia, the tiger shark, and the second, I can't tell off the top of my head, but they're definitely not bull sharks.
Its strong mouth is full of razor-sharp teeth.
Somehow they've gotten Carcharias taurus mixed up with both the great white and the bull shark.
Number 4. Geographer cone snail. It seems a little bizarre that a snail would be classed as dangerous, but it is Australia, right? So we shouldn't be surprised.
You know what? I'm beginning to feel that quite possibly the best argument against the stereotype about Australia being completely filled with deadly animals is that all of these fear-mongering videos about Australian wildlife always feature the exact same narrow selection of animals. Surely if Australia was as chock full of dangerous creatures as they say, they would have a lot more to choose from.
The Geographer cone snail makes the list because one sting from this predatory snail can kill multiple adult humans.
I understand that was a purely theoretical statement intended to convey the potency of the snail's venom. But when is that ever going to happen? It's not like cone snails can enchant their radulas with multi-shot.
This is not an animal I would like to stumble across in the backyard.
You're talking about stumbling across a marine animal in your backyard? What sort of house do you live in?
These snails are found in the ocean on reefs, so stay on land and you should be fine.
Or, just like with the blue-ringed octopus, don't pick the bloody thing up. There you go. I should write a survival guide, shouldn't I?
Number 3. Miracanji Jellyfish. This character makes an extraordinary sight. The Miracanji is both graceful and small, and yet another jellyfish to be avoided.
3 wrong species in a row. But let's face it, who is even surprised at this point? The first are Aurelia, or moon jellyfish, which are basically harmless. The second, I'm not entirely sure about. Maybe they are juvenile Philohyza punctata, but I could be wrong. Either way, definitely not Miracanjis. And the third is a Chrysaora species, likely Chrysaora fusescens. Again, wrong species, with the bonus factor of Chrysaora fusescens not occurring in Australia.
Nausea, headaches, vomiting, and some say that they feel like they're about to die.
Also, a very accurate description of how Australians feel after watching this video.
But get this, many people don't know that they've been stung.
That's Physalia utriculus, not even a box jellyfish, it's a siphonophore.
Number 2. Dingo.
So I'm going to come right out and admit that I don't know much about dingoes at all. And unlike some channels, I don't try to inform people on topics I know bugger all about.
Or even darker tan to black color.
Well, I may not know much about dingoes, but I can spot this bullshit in an instant. That is not a dingo, that is an extinct thylacine. Unlike dingoes, which are a type of dog, thylacines are metatherians, better known as marsupials, and are therefore more closely related to koalas and kangaroos. Their superficial resemblance to a dog is merely a result of convergent evolution.
Number 1. Kangaroo.
Oh, for the love of Sauron. I can't even. Seriously, they really must have been running out of ideas by the end of this video. Well, that's the end of this video, and boy am I glad, because that was exhausting to respond to. If you enjoyed this video, then there are plenty of other response videos that you can feel free to check out. And of course, don't forget to subscribe as well. So, thank you all very much for watching. That is it from me, and I'll see you again very soon.